Welcome back to my channel. My name is Nick. I make videos about women's basketball, collegiate or professional. Today I want to talk about the WNBA's preseason games. Wow, I can't talk. Before I get into that, I do want to say, if you are a new basketball fan, you're more than welcome here. If you're an old fan, you're more than welcome. But if you are a new fan and you only care about one team or one player, this is not the channel for you. So please go ahead and dislike this video so I don't show up in your feed. But if you're here and you want to learn more about the game, the nuances, some very biased opinions, please like, subscribe, and share with the video. I do not have comments on. I don't care about your opinion. Anywho, let's get into this. So, the first game or games for the preseason were with the Indiana Fever and the Dallas Wings. This was for Friday, May 3rd. I don't know if I'm going to release this the next day or not. It might be a few days after, we'll see. But I do want to talk about my reaction to that game, and I also want to talk about the other game that happened as well. But first, let's get into the one that everyone cares about, because Caitlin Clark, whatever. So I love that Sheryl Swoopes is one of the analysts. She went to Texas Tech. She was with the Houston Comets, and so of course her being there doing analysts for the Dallas Wings makes so much sense. And she is a GOAT. She is a legend. She is four-time WNBA champion with the Houston Comets. She's been a WNBA All-Star, USA Basketball. She is the reason why we even have the W. She was in that original 1996 Olympic run that they went 60-0. USA Basketball women's team went 60-0 under Tara Vanderveer. She was part of that team, and they went on to win the Olympics in Atlanta. So Sheryl's a GOAT. Fantastic person. People like to talk shit about her if she says something or whatever, but if you don't like Sheryl, you're not a real fan of basketball. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't understand who the legends are. So I'm not here for people who are hating on Sheryl Swoopes. If you're hating on Sheryl Swoopes, I'm probably going to think that you're a hater in general and that you're a low-key racist. So I don't have time for that shit. Anywho, love Sheryl. She's amazing. I want to say that JC, there was a kind of a funny moment where they showed a clip of JC Sheldon, because she's from Ohio State, and she used to go at Caitlin Clark when she was at Iowa, and they were like going at the ball. They showed a clip, and like JC's going for the ball, and then like Caitlin like hits her in the face. I thought that was hilarious. I can't believe they showed that on TV, but it's true. When Caitlin gets frustrated, she gets like kind of physical and violent, and like, yeah, that's how she is. She gets really competitive, but yeah, you gotta show all sides. You gotta show how people truly are. They say like I don't know what's that saying. It's like you gotta show people who you really are. Don't lie about people, how they act. So anywho, you have Aaliyah Boston and Nalissa Smith. They're just really good post players. I really love their game. They were doing fantastic in the beginning of the game, especially Nalissa Smith. She went on to score a lot of points. What I was noticing in that first quarter, though, it was real hectic, and you could tell that the Fever, which were much faster than the Wings, they had a lot of energy. They're young, a lot of speed, a lot of go. And that was I was like, how long is this gonna last? Are they gonna be able to keep this up? But they were able to keep it up. But it was like a very, very fast game in that first quarter. But I think it evened out a little bit over time. What I didn't like was that it's a preseason game, but there was no score on the screen. I was like, how am I supposed to know what's going on here? Like, I had no idea what the score was. So that was a little annoying, but later on it did come on the screen. But in the beginning, there was like no score, and I'm like, I don't know what's happening. Anywho, the other cool thing that happened was Jaylen Brown. She's from Cal. She didn't get drafted in 2020 when she graduated, so technically she's a rookie, even though she's played overseas for several years. She comes in and went off, dude. In that first half, she had 10 points in 12 minutes. She played 12 minutes and had 10 points. The efficiency, crazy. And then I also noticed that Boston and McCowan and even Brown too, they were all like trading fouls. They were the big post players out there, and they just kept trading fouls, and that was like, can't really do that all game, but whatever. And then what I noticed, I would say, is like the difference between Dallas and Indiana is the vets, right? You could tell wings were taking their time. They were kind of putting things together, because that's just veterans know how to play, over 4 quarters or more, and you can see younger players kind of like just doing a lot, but that can be effective sometimes, but not this time. Clark, there was a part where Clark obviously fouled a wing player and it was not called. And I was like, oh, so we're doing this now. I was a little worried about that, like that she is not going to get fouls called on her. And I was like, because I'm like, that's super biased and I want everyone to be treated equally and I want the refereeing to be even. This has been an issue in the WNBA for years. I've always felt that a lot of the refs, like half of the refs, are not very good, and it not necessarily is their fault. They're coming from like college, they're coming from the NBA, and they're going to the WNBA, and it's different rules. And almost every year there's new rules. There's always updates to the rules, so that's really something to keep in mind. And I'm just like not very impressed sometimes with these refs, especially the male refs. They typically do not call the right calls. You're just like, what are you calling anyway? But then JC Sheldon was going off. She was actually really good, and I wasn't really sure about her being picked 5th by the Dallas Wings, but she fits in really well, and she was playing very good ball, and it was a good call for them to draft her. I thought it was interesting that Emma Cannon was playing against her former team, so that was interesting. I remember in one of the interviews, I don't know exactly how many players left Indiana, but I know that it was Victoria Vivians and Emma Cannon were the ones who left, and Erica Wheeler made a comment about basically like the bad whatever not being in the team anymore, like being on the team anymore. We got the bad juice out, bad something out, but I don't know. Basically, she was making a diss about culture and the team, and I'm like, oh, so who are you talking about? Like, I don't know if it was Emma Cannon, but it might have been. I will say that Clark did live up to the hype. She was playing exceptionally well. I was a little curious about how she would play with the physicality of the WNBA, because she's a great shooter, she's a great passer, but I'm like, the WNBA is real physical, and she did have some moments of being physical, like kind of getting roughed up, and I was like, this is pro. This is how it's gonna be. I hope you're ready for it. But she did play really, really, really well. I did notice that she does push off a lot, so that's gonna be something that she's gonna have to work on, because like you can only get away with that so many times, and you're gonna get called fouls for that. So it was really interesting because this game did not feel like an exhibition game. Exhibition games is just to kind of see who's doing well, who is really for the people who are gonna get cut, to show that they shouldn't get cut. That's really what it's for. But man, they came out here like this was like a playoff game. It was super intense, and hey, Fever had a lot to prove. They really did. Last year, they lost a lot of close games. Like 26 of the games that they lost, they were close. It was like less than 4 or 5 points in those games. So, had a lot to prove. Compared to the Wings, because the Wings were in the playoffs last year, so they don't really have as much to prove. And hopefully Clark will get them over that hump. We'll see. They did finally call an offensive foul on Clark after she pushed it off a few times, and you could see that she was like getting frustrated. And I was like, "Girl, you're gonna have to check that." She used to get frustrated in college, and like it really distracts her from her game, and it takes her out. And I'm like, she's gonna have to work on that, because you're gonna be getting fouls, and you're gonna get frustrated. People are gonna lock you up. Like Veronica Burton and Jason Sheldon were on her all night, and that's gonna be every night. I think Cheryl Swoops said that at one point, because the other announcer asked her, like, what do you think that Clark has to deal with? She was like, oh, she's going to be great. She's going to get her shots off. She's going to do well. But she's going to have to go against, like, the way that people guarded her in the Final Four in the championship game, how Nika Mule and how, oh my God, blanking on her name right now. Wow, that's so crazy that I'm blanking on the South Carolina player's name. Wow, that's super crazy. But anyway, how they guarded her, that's how it's going to be every night. That's how it's going to be every time she plays. So she does have to get used to that, and her getting frustrated is not going to work out well for her. It's, whatever. during the break, there was a video of Cheryl Swoops, Latricia Trammell, and these three kids going over like plays or something like that, and it was really cute. It was adorable, and I like to see kids incorporated into the advertising and the social media. So it was good to see, and I love that Swoops was wearing her Houston Comets T-shirt in the ad. It was great. They interviewed this one person. I don't know his name. I don't know if he was like the general manager or what, but he they interviewed him during the halftime, I believe, and he said that the Dallas team, they sold out. I think they sold out their tickets for the season. Their season ticket holders. They sold out those tickets, and it was 1,100% increase in revenue. 1,100%. Wild. So great. Love to see it. It's really good. Really good omen for the Dallas. I'm really excited for them. In the third quarter, Clark picked up her fourth foul, so I was like, "Ooh, rookie after all, ain't you?" Like, it's really typical for rookies to get a lot of fouls, especially in the first game. It's really, really, really common. But I was like, "Oh, you gotta get it together." I think they took her out of the game after that. And Fever were up most of the game. They were super, super dominating. But then in the third quarter, the Vets came back from the wings and they got it close, or they were above. They were just like going back and forth, right? End of the quarter, Jaylen Brown, who I mentioned a little bit earlier, she's undrafted, had 19 points at that point. 19 fucking points. Latricia Trammell better not cut her. She is very, very good. I did see that the ref number 23, the bald white guy, he had some very questionable calls, and this is what I mean about like the refs not being that great. I just like some of his calls. I was like, I don't know, dude. I don't know. It's early. It's early in the season, so we'll see. Trammell had to use a coach's challenge at one point, but they did lose it. But it was really funny. Not too long after that, Natasha Howard gave Caitlin Clark her welcome to the W moment when she went in for that block. Just like, no. And she held her. The ball went off of Caitlin's head, and they almost gave it back to Indiana, which was crazy. So like they did look at it, and it was off of her, so it went back to the wings. And I was like, welcome to the W. It happens to all rookies. It does. It's kind of funny, but it was like, that's how it's going to be, girl. I mean, you can try to go to the basket, but with post players, no, not these post players. They're too strong. They're too big. She better. I know she wants to drive because that could be really lucrative or useful for her, but like, I really don't think that's a smart idea for her. I think she should hit her 3-pointers and stay outside the perimeter and pass. But you gotta learn. It was tied with 24 seconds left. It was fucking tied, yo. It was crazy. And then Arike hits a 3-point shot on a crossover on Lexi Hull. Woo! And then there's only 3 seconds left, so Christy Sides, Indiana Fever coach, had to figure something out real quick. And so there's a big truck outside my door. It's super loud. Christy Sides had to come up with a play real quick. They advanced the ball. And Clark tried to get a 3-pointer off, and she could not in time. And, game's over. And what I take from that is the Vets were too much for that young team. I mean, it was close the entire game, but the Vets eventually pulled it out. So Wings did win that. It was 76-79. For the Fever, Melissa Smith, Erica Wheeler, and Clark were all in double digits. Clark had 21 points. So she played very well. That's a lot of points for a rookie. That's really great. She did have 5 fouls. So she almost fouled out. But, and she got locked up a few times. So, learning curve. This is a preseason game. It doesn't really count. But it's good to see that she is going to she's going to make Indiana Fever better. So that's fantastic. They, last season won 13 games. The year before they won 5. So this year maybe they'll get into the 20s. You never know. Like maybe they'll be in the playoff contention. Lynn Dunn did say in a press interview that she was like, we have to be realistic. We're not going for a championship run. We want to make the playoffs. That's our goal right now. And I appreciate her being honest and being like, let's be realistic, guys. We're not going to be in the championship game. If they are, that'll be, amazing, but no, they're just trying to make the playoffs. Like give them a break. It's gonna take them like 2 or 3 years to be like championship quality. And then looking at the Wings had Arike Ogumbawale, Natasha Howard, and Jalen Brown in double figures, and Brown had 21 points too. So two rooks with 21 points in the first game, Bo, in the first game. So wild, so wild. So that was the first preseason game. It was fantastic. It lived up to the hype. Very, very, very good game. That was fun. And then the other game I'm going to talk about, even though I didn't get to watch it, it was I just watched the live play-by-play on the WNBA app, and that one was between Chicago Sky and the Minnesota Lynx. And so the Lynx started that game dominating the Sky. They were killing them. Courtney Williams was going off in the beginning. They did do a lot of subs because they're trying to figure out, who they want to cut. So they're subbing people, sub. Alyssa Peely did struggle. She did make 2 points at the half, but like that's all the points she made in the entire game. And I don't know if she had that many rebounds and stuff, so she wasn't as effective, honestly, in the game. Cardoso made her first shot in the second quarter, and it was like a 15-foot jumper, and then she had a block a few minutes later, and then a layup a few minutes later. So she was going off in the beginning. So she made a really big impact on the floor pretty soon. Reese got her first points in free throws, and then a few seconds later she had a 2-pointer. Then she got a few more points, and then the third quarter and kept making points. And then in the third quarter she got her 4th foul. So she did have to sit out, but she did come back in a little bit later. And so it was a very close game actually when they got to the third quarter. So Sky kind of came back, and then Kennedy Carter got her 4th foul in the third quarter as well. So they're a little bit in foul trouble with the youngins. Reese gets her 5th foul with 3 minutes left in the 4th. Girl almost fouled out, but she was kept in the game by Cheryl Reeve. Even and I want to point out, even Celeste Taylor, the other rookie, she made an impact too. She had a few points as well, so she was doing her thing. But in the end, Minnesota did win that game, 81-92. For the Minnesota Lynx, Nafisa Collier, Courtney Williams, Bridget Carlton, all had double digits, and the rooks on that team. Alyssa Peely had 2 points, Kiki Jefferson had 4 points, and Taylor Stoll had 6 points. So the Rooks did make an impact on the floor, just wasn't super dominant like the Fever did. Fever in the Wings did. But for the Sky had what's her first name? It's Onion Wede. Is it Michaela? I think it's Michaela. Michaela Onion Wede, Lindsay Allen, Kennedy Carter, Dana Evans, and Angel Reese all had double figures. So crazy. Reese had 13 points and 9 rebounds. She almost had a double-double in her first game. Almost had a double-double. Crazy. She also had 2 steals and 5 fouls. So she almost fouled out, but she also was pretty effective on the floor, and she was on the floor for a long time. She was on the floor for like 24 minutes. Cardoso had 6 points, but she only played half the time that Reese did. She only played like 11, 12 minutes. So, there's a discrepancy there. But I would say, wow, these games were fantastic. Really great way to start the season. I'm very excited to see more. I mean, it's always like this every year, but there's a little bit more hype around it with all of these new rookies that are popular right now. So really excited for the future and what's to come. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching my recap of the preseason games. And if you like this content, please like, share, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.